Well, I definitely can't compete against the coffee and the pastries outside. But all day today we've heard of pop-up restaurants and pop star chefs and taxi companies becoming restaurants, hotel companies wanting to become restaurants, magazines becoming restaurants. But thankfully there's one region where there is still some sanity, and that is Africa. So I'll take you through that. So just a collection of quotations on Africa. You know, Africa's been the next frontier for almost 2 decades, and I think the time is now where it is reaching some kind of its potential and the ability to deliver returns from an investor perspective. So just quickly, you know, I've been asked to talk about the trends, and this is the sort of lay of the land. And I'll quickly run through the slides because I know everyone's ready for the coffee break. So one of the biggest trends, obviously, which is common to around the world, is American brands in Africa. So there's McDonald's. All across the continent, they have 296 restaurants. That is less than only the city of New York, just to give you a sense. KFC, obviously, the biggest player, and they've franchised very aggressively across the continent. Domino's is the one that's catching on very quickly and looking to invest. And there's Burger King. Burger King interestingly went into a very small African country, Côte d'Ivoire, in addition to South Africa. Very early stage for their growth. So South Africa is clearly considered the takeoff point for restaurant chains, global restaurant chains looking to operate in Africa. And simply because it's considered Africa light, some of the taste buds, they believe, can be sampled in South Africa before they move on to the rest of the continent or move north. Very common set of retail development and franchisee challenges. So if you can make it work in South Africa, you've got a good lesson to take it to the rest of the continent. Joburg, Lagos, Cairo, Nairobi, Dakar, some of the cities you hear of are going through massive changes in lifestyle led by urbanization, heavy traffic. DINK is double income, no kids. So young couples, either dating or living together or recently married, that are looking to go out and cook less and less at home. The big push in Africa is coming from homegrown South African brands. And in many parts of the world, you would have tasted some of these brands. Nando's obviously being the biggest and the most famous. Barcelo's coming up strongly after that. And in parts of West Africa and East Africa, we see a lot of these South African brands as the first international brand that local populations get a taste of. This morning, Ken spoke about why franchising is not such an option in Africa because of standardization, uniform challenges that we have. But there is one single experience of the McDonald's case study in Egypt. Now, all this that I've put on the slide, you know, which is 24/7 operations, delivery, and word of mouth seem very ordinary and staple for everyone in this room. But when you go back to the time when McDonald's opened in Africa, which was about 20 years ago, these things were completely novel. A 24/7 concept in an African nation given to security issues, risk issues, was strange. Also delivery, we heard from the gentleman from Accor that delivery is becoming a major secular trend. McDonald's pioneered that. So in unsafe neighborhoods, you didn't want to go out, there was a delivery option. And the use of word of mouth, this is in the pre-social media era, obviously. So one of the things McDonald's concentrated on was good customer service, so that each customer of theirs that tasted their food or even visited the restaurant became a natural ambassador for the brand. So these are some of the examples of brands that have been backed by private equity players in Africa. Again, a major focus has been locally grown brands that are regional in a nation context. So investment tickets of between $20 and $30 million, backing local entrepreneurs, local food concepts, and letting them scale from that size to either be a pan-national player in their country or even a regional player. One of the things that seems to work in African markets is localization of the menu. So whether it's a KFC or a Domino's, they've all added some local elements, and I think the same can be said about KFC in Kenya. Why this works for PE funds is their ability to scale up rapidly. So when you talk about Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver, those are high niche concepts which are difficult to scale beyond 5, 6 restaurants in a continent or even 10 restaurants globally. But the mass dining, which is the core of African QSR, is easily scalable. And I think that's the opportunity most private equity people are betting on. Okay, so it's not all great news, and Ken again during his presentation mentioned there were a lot more dead bodies than success stories. The two that have been cautionary tales has been KFC in Botswana. Again, not because of the offering, not because of the brand, but primarily because of macroeconomic challenges of the home country that they operated in. The Cinnabon in Libya is a very interesting case study because, American brands usually follow the American army after the invasion. This was the first time an American brand went in before the invasion, and you can see the result of it. Poor guys are still struggling. Okay, I have 1.5 minutes left, so questions or coffee, whichever. As in who or
yeah, who or what? Is there anything you think will particularly work well?
So I think if a Pan-African food play is almost like trying to say that because even within everyone looks at Africa as one big secular common mass market, but it's not. So the food habits from the north to the east to the west to the south differ greatly, and even within Africa there are pockets that behave like a London, behave like a Paris, high-income concentrated areas. And there are parts of Africa, obviously, which have the budding middle class that the Middle East has seen, that the Indian subcontinent has seen. So I think it's difficult to answer what would work overall, but because of the exposure through television, social media, or even expatriates who've moved, or repats who've moved back, I think some global brands can work, but what's important is the price point here. So I don't think an African consumer would pay twice as much for a KFC over a local brand. So if there's a marginal difference, once in a while, you may try the KFC. But I think that price and value for money is very important in Africa.
Hi, sorry, can I just? Yeah. No, fine. Hi. I just wanted to know, in terms of the sort of, and this is more of a macroeconomic trend, but in terms of the increasing amount of Chinese foreign direct investment into Africa, are you sort of seeing an influx of Chinese brands and Chinese restaurants, or just Chinese sort of, cuisine coming in?
So Chinese cuisine is local cuisine everywhere in the world, right? But what is slightly different based on the new Chinese invasion is they're fairly ghettoized. So if there's a big Chinese construction company that's building a rail line or an airport, I think they have dedicated places that they go for their own meals. It's probably owned by a Chinese and catering only to the new emigres that have arrived. So I don't think there's too much cross-pollination as yet. At least I haven't seen it.